that had to be.
Because I married him in '63. I thought it had to be in the '60s. She thought it was in the '50s, but I wasn't up
Well,
there.
I don't think Al was. I don't think he was playing in the 50s. I was. Well, I'm older than he is. Let me see who's on this team here.
He plays for
That might tell you.
Bobby Quinn.
Bobby Quinn, right? Oh, well.
Website on their
That's when they
Facebook.
played for Local 57, the
Right.
Providence, Rhode Island.
I'm gonna say 60s. That is 60s.
What a cutie.
Yeah.
I married him in '63, and that's when we started going to all the games.
Well, she retired by within
Well, she made
a year or two after that.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Looking forward to the Saturday.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joe Gary. I'm the Chief of Staff for the City of Waterbury. It's my honor and privilege to be the MC this afternoon at the dedication of the Joan Joyce Field. At this time, I would ask everybody to please rise. Gentlemen, please remove your caps. We're going to have the singing of the national anthem this afternoon by Waterbury Police Sergeant Renee Harvey.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' bright glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Sergeant Harvey. Great rendition, as always. I'd just like to take a brief moment to go over what the ceremony is going to involve this afternoon. So there's going to be obviously a few speeches. We're going to hear from Joan. We're going to hear from Mayor O'Leary. We're going to go back and unveil the signage for the Joan Joyce Field. Shortly after that, there's going to be a 3-inning exhibition game between the Joan Joyce All-Stars. In between that time, we're going to attempt to move all of these portable tents probably out about the 50-yard line. Probably going to take about 10 or 15 minutes. Joan has graciously agreed to go over to that tent just on the other side of the third base line, further to take some autographs and pictures and so forth. So that's basically the game plan for this afternoon. So back on March 10th of this year, 2015, I had received, actually Mayor O'Leary had received a letter from Dick Ehrenheim. Dick, want to wave to everybody? Sitting right over here in a nice purple shirt. Dick's email was sent to Jen Rose. She's sitting right here in the first row. She's the mayor's secretary. It says, I was advised to write to you about something I've been thinking about for 45 years. I'm a graduate of Crosby High School in the class of 1957. One class behind me was a young lady named Joan Joyce. Joan is absolutely one of the finest people and such a credit to Waterbury. I wanted to ask the mayor, is there some way to honor her by naming something after her? Mayor O'Leary has a phrase that he uses on a regular basis, and it's I'm all in. Either he says I'm all in or I'm all in. So I went into the mayor's office that abuts mine, and we had a little conversation. We're going over some of our daily business, and I think I barely got the sentence out about the renaming of the North Field here to the Joyce Field, and the mayor gave a resounding, "I'm all in." So at that point, it was off to the Board of Park Commissioners, which obviously easily passed unanimously. There was a small committee put together. I'd like to acknowledge the folks that were on that committee today: the Superintendent of Parks, Mark Lombardo; General Foreman of the Parks Department, John Egan; playing a dual role today, State Representative Victor Cuevas is also the Recreation Director at the River Baldwin Rec Center; Jessica Donahue, who currently runs the Joan Joyce League with Representative Cuevas; Keith Burkowski was a huge help in assembling the members, the young ladies you see here today from the Joan Joyce League. And I also want to give a huge thanks to Joe Palladino, sitting right out here in the, I guess I'll call it the front row. Joe, your coverage over the last several weeks has been nothing but spectacular. Thank you, and I'm sure it's attributable to the crowd we have here today to honor Joan. At this point, without further ado, I'd like to bring up the Honorable Mayor of the City of Waterbury, Mayor Neil M. O'Leary, for some remarks. Mayor?
Good afternoon, everyone. Boy, it's sure good to be here, Joan, with you and your family and friends, and it's good to see my good friend, your brother Joe, here. It's really an honor to be here as the mayor to recognize a person who has had so much influence on a community, a state, and a country, and I'll talk just a few minutes about that after I read this proclamation. I think most of you know that material in here, but for those of you that don't, it's certainly worth hearing again and hearing for the first time for those of you that haven't. Kudos to Joe Palladino from the rep. I am really covering this to make sure that the people of Waterbury don't forget the great accomplishments. So here we go. Joan Joyce was born August 18th, 1940, in Waterbury, Connecticut, to Joe and Jean Joyce. As a child, something wrong there? As a child, her father, Joe, also a talented softball and basketball player, would take Joan and her younger brother, Joe, with him when he played ball for local teams. Joan's natural athletic ability quickly showed itself. And whereas one of the pitchers from her father's team, Tony Marinera, recognized her talent and recommended she try out for the Ray Bestas Braquettes softball team in Stratford, Connecticut. She started on the team at 14 and never looked back. Joan amassed amazing statistics as perhaps the greatest female softball player ever. Wait until you hear this record. 753 wins, 42 losses. Where you're not feeling well. That is incredible. 150 no-hitters, 50 perfect games, a record 42 wins in a season, including 38 shutouts, a lifetime earned run average of .09. It's incredible. And a batting average of .324. Whereas that, ladies and gentlemen, is just softball. Joan's athletic career also includes 19 years on the LPGA Tour, where she earned a place in the Guinness World Book of Records for both men and women for the lowest number of putts, 17, in a single match, an outstanding run in basketball, as a member of the U.S. national team, including setting a single game scoring record in 1964 with 67 points. She has been inducted into 11 Halls of Fame, including the National Softball Hall of Fame and the International Softball Federation Hall of Fame. She is currently the softball coach at Florida Atlantic University. And whereas for all her outstanding athletic achievements, Joan is perhaps best known for striking out Ted Williams, one of baseball's greatest hitters, in front of 17,000 fans right here in Municipal Stadium 54 years ago on a warm evening in August. Therefore, I, Neil O'Leary, Mayor of the City of Waterbury, do hereby proclaim August 15, 2015, Joan Joyce Day, as we proudly dedicate this field, the Municipal Stadium, in her name in recognition of her phenomenal athletic abilities, accomplishments. Waterbury is extremely proud to call Joan one of our own. Congratulations, Joan. You know, when I read this, I was reading Joe Palladino's articles leading up to today, and I really was astounded by the accomplishments. But when you read it all together, it's just an amazing story. And I know I'm probably embarrassing you a little bit here, Joan, but I do want to say one other thing that is extremely important. What you did for women and advancing athletics at every level is, I think, probably your biggest accomplishment. You know, when you think about it, I'm 57, soon to be. And you know, when I was in high school and college, women's athletics was just starting, right? It was just starting to go, but you know, it really wasn't until stars and people who have taken the spotlight like you have brought it to where it is today. And I'm proud to say, and my friends kid me about this sometimes down at this little place down the road called Domar's, but I enjoy watching women's tennis, women's basketball, women's golf, women's softball, as much as matter of fact, in some cases more so than the men, because I think they try a little bit harder sometimes. So I'm very, very honored to have you come up here for 1 second and give you a key to this magnificent city that you have made, by the way, a better place to be. I met you many, many, many years ago, and I'm really thrilled to see you again.
Well, you just gave away my whole speech.
Did I? Okay. Okay, so with that, I'll return to, I do want to recognize some of our great state and city officials here today. We have State Representative Jeffrey Berger here with us, State Representative Larry Butler here with us, State Representative Victor Cuevas here with us. We have School Commissioner Brian McEntee here with us, and a whole bunch of great people. Give yourselves a round of applause for turning out for one of our own. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, what I failed to inform you when you got here is you're going to catch the first pitch from Joan for the game. So got to make sure. Okay. Not right now, but later. At this point, I'd like to call up State Representative Victor Cuevas and Jessica Donahue. They have a shirt that they want to present to Joan. Victor and Jessica, come up, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Before we make our presentation, I'd like to say, Joan, do you remember the phone call we made to you about 3 years ago when we tried to do this? So I want to give a round of applause to Dick because I couldn't pull it off, but he certainly did. So Dick, nice job. About 6 years ago, there was a gentleman at Holy Cross, I can't remember his name, was running this league for some time. Mike Harris. And Mike Harris did a great job with it, and he got overwhelmed with his career in teaching and sports and Holy Cross. So he made a call to us, and Joan, Jessica and I took the league over. We met with Keith Borkowski, and we kind of try to build this league up, and that's when we called you 3 years ago to keep the interest in the girls in the city of Waterbury. And thank God that you're here today. This is a big boost for the league. There's folks here from all over town in different suburban areas, and that's good for Waterbury. Thank you so much, Joan. I also like to say that, you know, there's a true story when they say that every man needs a strong woman. She's not my wife, but I work with her every day. Her husband's here, her beautiful daughter. But this young lady, Jessica Donahue, is fabulous. She's done so much for these girls and in this league, and she's my partner, and she's always organizing on the phone. We work from home on the drive home when there's rain. We got to call teams, umpires. It's a lot of work, but we make it work, and Jessica deserves all the kudos. I would be remiss to not wish a colleague of mine today his 25th birthday, and I think we should all give him a round of applause, Joe Gary. He's a young 25-year-old. So, Joan, from our league, we would like to present to you this shirt. It's a woman's size large, so I know you'll fit this. And it has the emblem. It has the emblem of the field that is going to be renamed in your name, and this is to you. God bless you, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and this is Jessica.
Thank you both of you for doing what you do for the league.
We like to present a shirt to Dick for his efforts in this as well.
Thank you so much.
His is not a women's role, it's a men's role.
Stand up here.
Yeah. Okay. We'll come back up. Yeah. I've gone back and forth with Dick Ehrenheim several times. He wanted to speak, didn't want to speak, wanted to speak, didn't want to speak. I finally twisted an arm, and I'd ask everybody to please give a warm round of applause to Mr. Dick Ehrenheim, who was able to get this event started for Buffalo. Dick, please say a few words.
First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming out. There's one less item in my bucket list now that we got Joan up here, and this field is named after her. But all I had was an idea. Without the hard work of the following: Mayor O'Leary, Superintendent Parks Mark Lombardo, General Foreman John Egan, State Representative Victor Cuevas, and Jessica Donahue, it would never have happened. And I just thank you so much for everything.
I'd also like to acknowledge two more local dignitaries, President of the Waterbury Board of Aldermen, Paul Penarewski, and Board of Education member, Victor Rodriguez. Well, Felix Rodriguez, I'm sorry. Sorry, Felix. I was just talking to you. Felix Rodriguez. I know also somewhere in the crowd, I'd just like to acknowledge this afternoon is Terry Tata, who was a Major League umpire for 25 years. Terry, I know where you are. If we can see you somewhere, raise your hand. There you are, Terry. He's over here in short right field. What his good friend George Hamra from Middletown, Connecticut. George is a young 92 years old, and George is here with us today. I was just thinking, as Mayor O'Leary is reading off those stats about Joan, you can imagine a warm summer day like today, 90 degrees, and I think you've probably all realized when you're standing on a synthetic turf, it's probably a lot hotter. How it must have felt to try to dig into the batter's box when Joyce was on the mound. I mean, it had to be an unbelievable level of fear. When you got up into the batter's box and had to face her, especially on a hot day like today. Well, we're almost to the point where we're going to unveil the new signage, and I just want to take one moment to give you a few facts. I apologize in advance for some redundancy from what the mayor already told you, but here we go. The Joan Joyce story is synonymous to anyone who has followed the games of fast pitch softball, volleyball, or golf. Joan is most remembered for her record-setting career in softball with the Robesto Burkettes. Joan compiled a career record of 753 wins, 42 losses, including what you've already heard, 150 no-hit, no-run games, 50 perfect games, and a lifetime ERA of 0.09. After softball, Joan joined the LPGA Tour from 1977 to 1994. Her best finishes included 3 sixth-place finishes, including a round of 66. She is currently listed in the Guinness Book of World Records for the lowest number of putts, 17, in a single round of golf, and that's both for men and women. As many of us, exactly, that's an unbelievable accomplishment, 17 putts. As the mayor alluded to, many of us here today know that Joan struck out Ted Williams, the Splendid Splinter, most commonly referred to as the greatest hitter who ever lived, right here, just right over the third baseline at Municipal Stadium on August 5th, 1966, some 49 years ago. What an amazing feat that was and remains to be. Joan has been inducted into 12 Halls of Fame, and Joe Palladino made a comment in one of his stories, who visits 12 Halls of Fame? She's been inducted into 12 Halls of Fame, including the National Softball Hall of Fame, along with numerous others. In addition, this list includes 2 local Halls of Fame, the Silas Bronson Library Waterbury Hall of Fame, and Joyce was and still is the first and only member of the Hank O'Donnell Hall of Fame. Currently the softball coach at Florida Atlantic University, Joan has never had a losing season in softball during her 20 years as a coach. Joan has won over 700 games as a coach. Another individual I'd like to mention who's here today is retired Waterbury teacher Ned Mencio, a close dear friend of mine. Ned had run numerous baseball leagues during the summer months when he was working as a supervisor with the Waterbury Parks Department. Ned had an idea back in 1987, just talking to my former boss, retired superintendent, director of parks, Sam Leisring. So in 1987, Ned had the idea to start a summer league, summer softball program for high school girls. That was the hard part. The easy part was naming the league. And who better to name it after than the greatest softball player that ever lived, Joan Joyce. Ned took the opportunity to contact Joan's brother Joe, asked for his permission. Joan said yes, and the Joan Joyce League was born. If you just do some quick math, it could easily be said that several thousand young girls have participated in the Joan Joyce League over this period of time. It's still going strong after 28 years, and is only fitting that from here on in, the games will be played on the Joan Joyce Field. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it is my high honor and distinct privilege to introduce to you the greatest softball player that ever lived, and Waterbury's own Joan Joyce.
Yes, please. Yeah, we won't be able to stop there.
Okay. Thank you. Well, first of all, they've just blown everything that I was going to speak about. So that's out the window. But I do have to say is, you know, when I started in Waterbury, we didn't have turf fields, and I certainly didn't play on fields like this, so you guys that are playing here are really lucky. They did a great job on the field, and having my name on it is even much better. Thank you, Waterbury. But anyway, I would like to thank the mayor, Neil, Joe, and especially Richard for all the hard work that they've put into getting this done. And I'm sorry that we couldn't get it done 3 years ago. But anyway, thank you for this great honor. This is wonderful. I don't know probably of another athlete that has a softball field and a league, okay, in their name. And I am so proud that the city of Waterbury did it for me. Thank you. You know, I would like to thank a few people, you know, that certainly helped me along the way as I went through playing sports. You know, my family, my father and mother, Joe and Janice, my brother and sister, Ginny, his wife, his 2 daughters, Megan and Bridget, and now their 2 husbands, Russ and Michael. I have cousins that are probably here today that I haven't seen any of them. I mean, I've seen a few of them so far, but I met the whole Joyce family that's here, which is unbelievable, because you know, I probably was gone by that time, and I really didn't know hardly any of them. Of course, I knew Danny, but didn't know, you know, the rest of the family. You know, I want to just, you know, talk about growing up here in Waterbury and when I got started. Of course, you know, I got started actually with my father, because he babysitted my brother and myself. My sister Janice was a few years later. So we spent a lot of time on softball fields and basketball courts with him. And of course, we learned how to play as a result of it. You know, we had some really good teachers like Tony Marinera, who was my mailman. And actually, I used to help him, which was against the law probably. Help him deliver mail so that he could spend 10-15 minutes with me teaching me how to pitch. You know, and I remember him telling me, and I probably was only 11 years old, you know, telling me about the Ray Bestis Breakettes. And I said, well, who are they? And he said, it's this major softball team that plays out of Stratford, Connecticut. I said, great. I mean, you know, when I started at Fulton Park and played at Fulton Park, City Mills Lane. I played in a recreation league there at Fulton Park, and then played actually Little League at City Mills Lane, right down behind the Golden Villa. Played a lot of ball out at Huntington Fields, right down here. You know, so I spent my really young years on all the softball fields in Waterbury. You know, it was no wonder that I was able to learn how to play. But anyway, from there I went down to the Breakettes, played with them for I think 19 or 20 years, and 3 years out in California when I went to school, and then 4 years with the Connecticut Falcons, the Pro League. And I want to introduce just a couple people from the Breakettes who had a major part of my life, really. Johnny Stratton, where's Johnny? Johnny Stratton. And I talked Johnny into coming down to Florida and coaching with me at FAU. So that's who got the team going down at FAU, was Johnny and I. And you have to understand, Florida was totally slow pitch. Okay, and my assistants back then were slow pitch players, okay, and it was such a welcome to have Johnny come down that I had someone that really knew fast pitch softball. So thank you, Johnny. Some of the players, teammates that I played with, Linda Finelli. Johnny Stratton's wife, Mickey, on the end. Actually, Mickey was my catcher when I played, and I'll tell you just a quick story about Mickey. You know how sometimes, you know, you have pitchers and catchers, you know, and you shake off pitches, and when we were playing a game one time, Mickey called a signal. She wanted a rise ball, and I wanted to throw a drop ball. And so I shook her off. She called it again. I shook her off again. And so she calls timeout and comes out and says to me, why didn't you want to throw the rise ball? She goes, or drop ball, whichever one it was, okay? But anyway, I said, no, I think we should throw the drop ball. And she goes, we're throwing the rise ball, turned around and walked away. And I threw the rise ball. Because there were many years after that I had catchers where if I shook off a pitch, they would call the other pitch. But Mickey would not let me get away with anything, believe me. She taught me a lot about pitching. Elaine Bersavage. Elaine, where's Elaine? Bersavage. Where's Elaine? Elaine was another catcher for me. Were there any other Breakettes here that played with me? Who? Oh, Julie. Still not getting it. Bolduck? Julie Bolduck, who played with the Breakouts. Someone that's much younger than I. But anyway, that was the Breakouts. And Breakouts just finished up winning the another national championship last weekend. So Johnny just keeps running off national championships. You know, and they gave away probably one of the most proudest moments or most exciting times of my life, okay? And I believe it was what made me famous, okay? You know, not 753 wins and 42 losses, okay? It was striking out Ted Williams. But anyway, that all was here at Municipal Stadium. So, you know, for me, this is a special place. Special place. It made me famous. And it was actually for a very good fund, the Jimmy Fund, so it also raised a lot of money. And I can tell you that there were 17,000 people there, at least. And I'd have to say, in my career, over my years, all 17,000 of them have seen me at some point and have reminded me of that night and that they were there. And I mean, that is such a thrill. I mean, I could be in California someplace or in Arizona someplace, and someone will come up to me and say, you know, I was there the night you struck out Ted Williams. I know. But anyway, again, you know, I don't want to bore you too much up here, but, you know, there's just a few other people, you know, that I want to introduce, being coaching now at Florida Atlantic University. My assistant coach, Shan Walker's here, right there. And I have a couple of my athletes that are from the Waterbury area, Waterbury, that played down at Florida Atlantic University. And Pam Mazzarella, where's Pam? Someplace there. And Jen Piazza. And actually, I had 3 of our athletes playing with the Breakettes this last year, and Emily Lockton, Tatum Buckley. You probably all know Tatum from Massac High School, and also a new gal, Sarah Bensavega, who's now going to be a owl down at FAU. You know, the mayor was talking about all in. It's funny when he said it, but that's our motto down at Florida Atlantic University. You know, that we're all in, and now the main thing is we're all owls in. But anyway, thank you very much for everybody coming today. I'm sorry that it's so hot, but if we were in Florida, it would be hotter. So in that sense, you're lucky. Thanks again for coming, and I appreciate it, you fans and people that have known me. And I am so proud to be from Waterbury.
At this time, Mayor O'Leary and Joan are going to make their way back to home plate for the unveiling.
preparing those pictures.
Yeah. I will. Thank you. I will take you up on that. Jeffrey, yeah. Who, by the way, is very much responsible for this field.
Oh, is
State
that
rep, and
right?
he's all the funding for the turf, and we're just doing the whole stadium over there. Okay.
Okay, so we're going to have the ceremonial first pitch thrown out by Joan. Catching the first pitch is going to be Jenna Moab. Jenna's an 8th grader currently at Blessed Sacrament School. She's one of Mayor O'Leary's daughter Maggie's best friends. And here we go. Whenever you're ready, Joan.
People are not safe.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have the starting lineups announced.
Nice job there, kid.
And at this point, Joan is going to make her way over to the tent.
The people that showed up here, several hundred people came out on this sweltering hot day, and it was here to honor Waterbury's finest athlete, Joyce. As I had mentioned during the speech, what her accomplishments are, no one, I don't think, in our lifetime will ever be able to come near that. 750 wins, 42 losses as a fast pitch softball player, 50 perfect games, 150 no-hitters. I mean, you just can't amass those kinds of stats. Also, her 19 years on the LPGA Tour, where she was inducted into the Hall of Fame for one round where she had 17 putts the whole round. You just don't hear things like that. And not only her accomplishments athletically, but also she gives back to the community. She was born and raised here in Waterbury, went to Waterbury Catholic High, has made numerous appearances here throughout the years, been recognized in the library, Silas Bronson Library Hall of Fame, the Hank O'Donnell Hall of Fame. She gives back to where she came from. She believes in this community. She shows still immense pride in where she came from. And that's what we're trying to do with all these events. We're trying to rebuild pride in the community, and it's working. It is very contagious. People are showing up in large numbers now to all these events, and we're thrilled about it because Waterbury has such a great story to tell. And Joyce is one of the greatest stories of all time. What she has done for women's athleticism, not in the city, not only in the state, but for the United States of America. Joyce is one of the most renowned female athletes this country's ever seen, and here she is today being honored by her city, and we're proud to be here. In celebration and recognition of Joan, right now we have going on is a 3-inning softball game with girls. They're 8th and 9th graders. It's a fast pitch game. They were honored to be here to recognize Joan, and Joan spent an awful lot of time with those girls, signing baseballs and doing photographs with them. And this is really, in this league, by the way, is called nothing but the Joyce League, which was started some 18 or 19 years ago. And they're strong and they're alive and well, and they're a highly recognized league in the state as far as competitive softball. So it's a good day for Waterbury and a good day for everyone around here today.